Welcome students. In today's class we are going to discuss about some of the methods how we can dispose the wastes safely so that it does not cause a lot of environmental pollution and does not also cause any nuisance in the surrounding environment. The very first method of safe disposal of waste is called segregation. Segregation is like not depositing the wastes, all of the types of the wastes in a single bin, but segregating them or separating them on the basis of some properties. Let's look at some of the properties. First, we need to segregate the wastes that can be reused, like plastic bottles or glass containers or metal cans, etc. These reusable things should be separated in a separate bin. Then from the rest of the waste, we need to separate them into two categories. One is the biodegradable waste. That is the wastes that can be acted upon by the bacteria and the fungi so that they can decompose it and convert it into manure or simple forms that can be mixed into the soil very easily. And the second portion is the non-biodegradable waste. Those are like the plastics, then plastic caps, plastic bottles, and all other plastic materials that are non-biodegradable. That is, that cannot be acted upon by the bacteria or fungi or any kind of decomposer. And we need to dispose them separately from the biodegradable ones. Dumping of the waste is another method, and this is the most common method that is practiced in most of the first tier or second tier cities in India. Dumping ground is a separate place which should be very far from the residential areas where all the wastes that are collected from a city are dumped, and then the further process of disposal or process of separation occurs in that place. The dumping ground almost always creates a lot of problems in the surrounding areas, so it should be at a very far and permittable distance from the residential areas. There should not be any water bodies very near to the dumping ground of the waste, because it will otherwise contaminate the water of that place. And also there should be some proper scientific method of further treatment of the wastes in the dumping ground. Composting is a disposal method of the wastes that are organic in nature. That means either they are obtained from the plant source or animal source. And these wastes can be acted upon by the decomposers like the bacteria and the fungi, and can be turned into compost or manure or fertilizer that are used in the agricultural fields. Now there are a lot of ways and lot of steps in which we can make a compost out of the organic waste. First, we need to make a trench in the ground, or we can also use a wooden box like shown in the picture, and we can dump the wastes into that trench or that box. Then we need to cover it with a layer of cow dung and some mud, watery mixture of cow dung and some mud. And this cow dung mixture contains a lot of decomposing bacteria and fungi which is going to act on the refuse. After that, there should be a second layer of the refuse over the cow dung and the mud mixture, and this mixture should be left in this condition for almost 3 to 4 months for letting the bacteria and the fungi to act upon the organic waste. After that, the material is taken out from this trench or from this wooden box, and like the second picture shown in the slide, they are made or deposited into conical heap-like structures, and they are covered with a layer of earth or soil. This layer of earth or soil also contains a lot of decomposing bacteria and fungi. They are going to further act on the already composted material, and then it should be left for almost 2 to 2.5 months like this in the conical heap like form, and after that we can remove them and we can use them as fertilizer in the soil. In this way, the wastes that are already generated from an organic source returns back to the organic source, and it actually enriches the soil in so many ways. Next is the treatment of effluents before the disposal. Effluents are the liquids that are obtained from the industrial and municipal wastewaters, and how these wastewaters are treated before they are disposed of into the water bodies like the rivers or ponds, etc. Now, this effluent treatment needs a proper effluent tank or effluent treatment plant where this is going through many steps, mostly three steps: primary treatment, secondary treatment, and the tertiary treatment before they are discharged into the water bodies. First, in the primary treatment, the raw sewage or the effluent from the industrial and municipal wastewater is passed through some screens, and that screen is used to remove the bigger sized waste materials from the sewage or from the effluent. Bigger size waste materials means the rocks and the sands and the gravel, etc. Then they pass to the comminutor. The comminutor is going to again further shred the bigger particles into smaller ones so that they can pass through the further steps. The third one is the great chamber. Great chamber is the chamber where the pace of the effluent water is slowed down so that the very weighty materials can get deposited or sedimented at the bottom, and we can remove that grate as the grate disposal, and we can have the water as the primary clarifier. The primary clarifier is again at a chamber is remained stationary for a lot of time so that there is a disposal or there is a sedimentation at the bottom of it, and this is called the sludge or the primary sludge, which is not quite a solid material waste or a liquid waste material, but it's a mixture of solid and liquid waste material. Mostly it contains soil and mostly it contains animal excreta. After the sludge has been removed from the primary effluent, it is moved into the aeration tank, which is part of the secondary treatment. Aeration tank is also called oxidation ponds, where there is air supply into the tank, and along with air there are a lot of bacteria and fungi that is supplied into this oxidation ponds or aeration tank. Now, what is the function of the bacteria and the fungi in this stage? They are going to act on the organic waste, and they are going to oxidize them and decompose them and make them totally vanish from this secondary treatment chamber, and thus we are having the secondary clarifier. Secondary clarifier is almost quite a clean water that we have obtained after all of these stages of cleaning. And secondary clarifier is also a chamber where the effluent is remains stationary for a lot of time, so that the sludge, it is called the activated sludge, is deposited at the bottom, and then the sludge is removed and the secondary clarifier or secondary effluent is sent back to the tertiary treatment if it is at all needed. For tertiary treatment, there are some chemicals that are going to get added into the secondary effluent, some chemicals, metals, or even pathogen removal techniques or chemicals are going to get added, and then it is discharged into the surface water bodies like ponds, rivers, streams, ocean, etc. The next method is called incineration. Incineration is a process in which we burn the waste materials and then the ash is obtained, and that ash is used as landfill. And so the incineration process is done in an equipment called the incinerator, which is having two chamber, primary chamber and secondary chamber. and the fire is used to burn the waste materials, and the obtained ash is used into the landfill, and the hot air is let out from an outlet chamber. The incineration process is quite useful in some ways and harmful in other ways. The usefulness is that it reduces the volume of the waste, and it also converts the very toxic waste products into almost non-toxic waste products. It reduces the weight of the wastes. So that's how it is very useful. But the harmful effect of incineration is that it releases the fumes as a result of burning and some harmful substances which needs to be treated if it is that harmful before releasing into the atmosphere. Scrubbers are the devices. These are devices that are used in industrial industrial waste removal process. These are used mainly for removing gaseous and particulate air pollutants from a chemical fume or from polluted air or contaminated air, etc. The scrubber can be of two types. One is called the dry scrubber and another is called the wet scrubber. The picture that is given in your book is an example of a wet scrubber because it has a water spray or water supply, and the picture that is given in the slide, it's an example of a dry scrubber that does not use water. So what it is doing or how it is removing the waste from the gas. So in the picture of the slide you can see that there is an inlet of the chemical fume, that is the inlet of the contaminated air. Now inside the scrubber there is a pre-filter assembly and array of carbon beds. All of these things are called the packing materials. That material is nothing but like a filter and the air which is containing the particulate matter and all the contaminants, when that is passed through this packing material of carbon beds or some other things, these particulate matters get deposited into the packing material, and then on the other side the clean air gets out from the other outlet. And in case of a wet scrubber, there is a water spray. The water is actually ejected in so high speed that the water dissolves the particulate matter in the gas, and the gas becomes very clean of the particulate matter and it just gets out from the other end. That is the main function or principle of function of the scrubbers, dry scrubber and wet scrubber both. The last method of safe disposal of waste is another equipment that is used in industrial level of disposal of waste, that's called electrostatic precipitator. Electrostatic precipitator is also used to clean dirty air containing particulates, and here it is not the packing materials like scrubbers that are used to remove the particulate matter, but it is some electrically charged plates that are present inside the precipitator. Some of them are positively charged and others are negatively charged. When the dirty air is inserted into the electrostatic precipitator, the particulate matters are also charged either positive or negative. Now we know from the law of electricity that the unlike charges attract and the like charges repel. So the particulate matters which are positively charged will get deposited to the charge plates which are negatively charged, and particulates matter which are negatively charged will get deposited or attracted on the plates which are positively charged. Like this, when the air gets out from the other outlet on the opposite end, it is totally free of the particulate matters which has already been deposited onto the surface of the charge plates because of their unlike charge attraction.